meteorologist Chase Jones.
All right, I'm giving Stephen Ears a break today, and I'm picking my production assistant to talk about meteorology. Now, we're keeping our eye on this high cloud cover as it makes its way in, and you guys know how I will just talk up a storm and talk your ear off as well. Now, as we continue to keep our eye on these conditions, Zach, we're watching the temperatures push up from those lower 60s all the way up into those mid-80s, just outside of some of that heating we're looking for severe weather. And then as we cool off gently, we're going to keep our eye on some of those cooler conditions to see if we don't hit that atmospheric tipping point for some of that saturation for some potential rain making its way in. But right now, really sticking towards the south, you definitely called it. Now, temperatures 70s across the entire Concho Valley, but we'll see how quickly we cool off. Now, the faster we cool off, the better opportunity we have for some of these clouds to form and potential rain, but it's not looking very probable. 72 over there in Ozona, 74 in Coleman, 72 in Sterling City, and 74 down there in Junction. Looking like a good 4 degrees across the entire Concho Valley as we cool off, but you can see those shades of green working their way in from the west. That's where we have our eye on these thunderstorms all week if they decide they want to show up. Now, moisture values are showing us exactly what we want to see for the potential for rain. Dew points are up there in those upper 60s, while humidity indices are anywhere from those 80s all the way down into those 60s. So around the 100% mark for probable and favorable conditions for rain, but there's just nothing out there. Moisture tracker is going to show you concentrations of blues. This is where we're looking for instability. Now, the high pressure is lingering around the Gulf Coast, but as we make our way closer towards next week, the severe weather you were asking about, we're going to see that high pressure form right back around the four corners. Now, here's the upper level pattern we were talking about right before the show. There's the cutoff low I have my eye on. Now, the more severe weather that we're on the lookout, that's the shape that I'm looking for to push it into the Concho Valley, because there's the high pressure lingering around the Gulf Coast, and then off towards the west coast, there's the resurgence of the other high pressure as we get closer towards summer. Now, water vapor imagery showing you the winds that are powering most of these storms that we should be seeing. Take a good look at Kansas. Look at the size of that storm. Steve, what do you make of that? Then when we look down towards Texas, we get a good idea of this line of convection making its way across the entire Concho Valley. Zach, that's the steam kettle you were talking about. When we look at severe weather outlook, here it is just across the entire western part of Texas, just outside of the Concho Valley. And take a good look at the hail probability tray. Don't think you have to worry about it, but you know how these storms like to throw hail at us. We take it down to the surface, getting a good idea of this high cloud cover as Zach gets better at forecasting, but we turn on the radars. Nothing but high cloud cover, favorable conditions out there for a lot of rain, but we'll see if we don't see any of it overnight is what I'm trying to say. Storms are supposed to be off towards the west, so you get a good idea how the models are handling some of this weather. But as we make our way closer towards tomorrow morning, keeping our eye on the storm, and that's going to rip through the northern part of the Concho Valley, then fade out as we make our way into that commute closer towards the weekend by the afternoon. Going to have a good opportunity for you to call it again, the steam kettle effect as it pushes through our area, goes around the Concho Valley. Then we're going to keep our eyes around Ballinger for a monster storm to rip its way through. Again, the setup for Friday. There's the storm we're looking for before it pushes out towards the east and off towards the west, looking for another storm. And this makes its way all the way through the weekend. So, Stephen, that's probably what we're looking at all weekend long, well into Monday, where we're keeping our eye on the recharging of the atmosphere tonight all the way down into those 60s. On the lookout for some of that light rain overnight. Then tomorrow, a good run at those upper 80s almost the weekend, and hopefully some rain will show up as we make our way closer towards the weekend. Zach's going to nail that forecast with those temperatures in those 80s while those overnight lows hover in those 60s, but we'll see if more of that rain doesn't make its way in. Stephen takes over and he keeps track of some of those temperatures, but as we get closer towards Monday, I'll take back over as things start to drop down into those 70s while those overnight lows hover in those 60s, and hopefully we see more rain. Stay tuned. We'll have more with the break. You're watching KSAN News at 10.